All right, so good morning. My name is Dan Kane. I'm with Volunteers of America, and I am the Director of Adult Community Justice Programs, which really probably doesn't seem like that means a whole lot to anybody but me. So in explanation of what I do is I oversee pretrial programs, pretrial supervision programs, and release programs in 4 counties, in Saginaw, Lincoln, Waldo, and Penobscot counties. And then I also oversee a small reentry program at the Two Bridges Regional Jail. And another thing that we do is something called the Alternative Sentencing Program, which I want to talk with you about today. So I want you to take a minute and indulge me in a slight scenario. I want you to think about yourself on any given warm Maine summer evening at a baseball game or at a wedding or maybe just out with some buddies or whatever. And you're having a good time and you have 1, 2, 3 beers and now it's time to go home. So in the car you go, driving along, everything's great, and then all of a sudden, blues. Okay, what's your first thought? Oh shit, right? Then you start running through your head, okay, I wasn't speeding, I didn't see a stop sign, and this isn't a one-way street, so I'm probably gonna be okay. Officer comes to the window and says, "Excuse me, sir, do you know why I pulled you over?" "No, I really don't have any idea." "Well, your plate light was out." "Oh, I didn't even know I had a plate light." "Well, you do, and it's not working." "Okay, great." Sir, have you had anything to drink tonight?" "Uh-oh. I've had a couple. "Really? Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to conduct a couple of tests." "Okay, what are you gonna do, say no?" So, you get out of the car. The officer starts asking you to do a few things. First, he wants you to walk a straight line. That's not too bad. Then he wants you to stand on one foot, juggle 3 oranges, and recite the alphabet in Swahili, right? So, your automatic response is, "Dude, I can't do that when I'm sober." Oh, now he's got you. So down to the police station you go. We're gonna have an intoxilizer test, find out just how much you may have been drinking. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you remember from being in high school or college or something, somebody told you, whatever you do, don't take the test. They can't get you if you don't blow in the machine. That ain't right, I'll tell you now. So now, you've been caught for an OUI, and you've refused to take the test. This means for you, if you get convicted of your first offense OUI, you're gonna do 2 days in jail. 2 days in jail? What are you talking about, 2 days in jail? I'm a upstanding member of society. I'm a professional person. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not a drunk driver. What do I gotta go to jail for? Well, realistically, that's a pretty good question. You may not know it, and if you don't, you probably should. The county jail system in the state of Maine is in a critical situation right now due to overcrowding. There's just too many people in the jails for the bed space that's there. And a lot of the folks that are in these jails don't need to be there. It may be because they have mental health issues and they don't have any place else to go. It may be because they have some substance abuse issues and what they really need is treatment, not necessarily sitting in an 8x8. Or it may just be that they couldn't come up with the $250 it costs to get out. So, what do we do to help decrease this population? Well, if you're me, you do something called an alternative sentencing program. The alternative sentencing programs were originally designed specifically for OUI offenders. In lieu of spending their time in a jail cell, they have the opportunity to go to some other facility, a high school, summer camp, someplace like this, and do some community service work and not sit in jail. It's really a pretty good idea. long about, now I gotta say, I started doing this in 2001, and the idea was before my time. We can also do this with multiple offenders. Maybe we can do this with folks that have more than one OUI. They'll just spend a longer time sitting in this camp or school or whatever, which is also a great idea. Because these people are just like you. They're not hardened criminals. They're not alcoholics. Some of them are, but they're not all alcoholics. They're folks that made a really bad decision and have got themselves gummed up in the criminal justice system. They're not dangerous, and they don't need to sit in a jail cell. So what we do, we run 2 programs a year in Saginaw County for first and second offenders. I run my programs together. And we also run 2 programs in Penobscot County, although this year I think we're going to run about 5, but that's a whole different story. So people come and they sign up, and I run through the whole list of information as far as their criminal history and when they got convicted and did they have a lawyer and medical background and everything. And they come to this, I hold them at a summer camp. They come to this big summer camp. And I usually have about 50 people on the first day. They all come in, they all get breathalyzed, all of their stuff gets searched, and they're kind of in a correctional setting. They don't have the freedom to just go wherever they want, do whatever they do. They have to follow the rules, which in the beginning seems pretty bad to them. They've been taken away from their loved ones, their jobs. They're in a foreign place with a bunch of people they don't know. But when the program really gets going, good things start to happen. Because I don't have people come and just sit at a camp for a week, and we're certainly not fishing and going out in the canoes. We're there to do a couple of things. First of all, we're going to do some community service work. We're going to work at the camp itself. We're going to farm some people out to some towns, some other nonprofit agencies, and we're going to do some work. And we do a lot of work. Over the course of, I've been doing this for 12 years now, I can say that we've done over $1 million worth of community service work to towns, nonprofit organizations, and camps and the places where we're at. We've worked at churches, fire departments, schools, graveyards, all sorts of places. We built a giant bridge in a land conservatory one time. We replaced a whole walkway out at a lighthouse in Seguin. We have done lots of things, Little League baseball fields. And these folks work pretty hard. We start at 7 in the morning, they work until about 4 in the afternoon. And it could be everything from raking, painting, moving bricks, rocks, moving boats, putting docks in the water. We do all of it. And you would think that people would gripe about this, like, what's up with all this work? But the reality is that they appreciate the work that they're able to do. They appreciate the fact that they get an opportunity to give back in some way. Because like I say, most of these people, they're not criminals. They're just folks that made a bad mistake, and they want to make up for it. I've never, ever, ever heard one person tell me that they resented the work that they had to do while they were at an alternative sentencing program. Now, they complain about other things like the food and where they had to sleep and the hard benches that they had to sit on. The really bad 1981 Denzel Washington movie I made them watch. But I've never had them complain about the work. And the people in the community that get the benefit of the work could not be more grateful. I literally have a drawer full of thank you cards, letters, pictures from the things that we've done, the things that we've built. thanking the folks that were at my program for all the hard work they did. And that's a great thing. But it's not enough. Because ultimately, we don't want these folks to make a bad mistake again. We don't want to see them again. Now, truthfully, I can't say that I've never seen people again. You know, there have been those cases where I have somebody that comes in for a first offense and a couple years later, they're back for their second. So maybe we didn't get it to stick, but now I got another shot. So what are we going to do to try to make sure that these folks don't come back? Now, jail has sort of a built-in deterrent, right? Believe it or not, it's not really comfortable. Jail's not a great place to be. So you would think that the folks that go to jail, you know, they get that deterrent. I don't want to go back there. But unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. So what am I going to do to make sure people don't come back? Well, after working all day, what I do is I sit everybody down every evening, and we have some educational pieces. We do about 4 hours of substance abuse education, and I really want to make sure that everybody understands, not just you, but the folks that are there, that it's education. It's not treatment. I'm not trying to treat you. I'm trying to educate you. I'm trying to get you to see that the way that you use substances may be contributing to you getting in trouble. I'm not telling you you're an alcoholic. I'm not telling you you need to stop drinking. What I am telling you is that you need to make better decisions when you drink. And one of those decisions should be not to get behind the wheel of a vehicle. And I have some professional folks that are good enough to come in and volunteer their time and help me spread that message. So that's great. But sometimes with the substance abuse piece, people are like, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't need this. I'm fine. Okay. I don't have a problem with that. So let's talk about your decision-making skills. So another night, we're going to spend 2 hours, and I'm going to bring somebody in, and he's going to talk about decision-making and being accountable for the decisions that you made. He's going to take you through the process of how you make decisions. He's going to make you realize that that was my decision, and I have to be accountable, and I have to face the consequences. People start cluing in a little bit. Oh, well, it isn't necessarily about the drink. It's about the choice I made afterwards. And that's all good. Then I have a state trooper come in, and he talks about OUI laws. And he explains what the law is, what he can arrest you for, what he can't arrest you for. But the best thing that he does is that he humanizes law enforcement. He's a really down-to-earth guy, and he comes in and he explains to these folks that he's a human being, and that every time he gets called to a drunk driving accident and he sees some dead kid or somebody maimed and hurt and laying bleeding on the street, that leaves an impression on him. He carries that with him wherever he goes. So he says, please, 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 now that I've explained to you what the laws are and how you're going to get in trouble, don't impact my life with your crash. I'm a human being too, which is a great thing. So through the program, if I want to bring it back to some restorative justice, we're doing a couple of things. We're getting people to be accountable for their actions, to take responsibility for them. And then we're also getting them to perform some reparation by the community service work that they do. Now, for anybody that manages a budget in this room, here's the best part. The alternative sentencing program doesn't cost the state, county, city, or agency a dime. What? Not a cent. Everybody that comes to the alternative sentencing program pays to be there. And it's not cheap, but they pay to be there. So we are doing a service for the entire state, really, because my program, even though it runs out of Saginaw County, I'll accept offenders from anywhere in the state. Doesn't matter where you're from. So the entire state, every county is getting the benefit of not gumming up their jails and having their offenders maybe learn a little something so that we're not in this situation again. So, how do I want to put this? The way I see this whole thing is that any one of you, anybody, can get that first offense OUI. And I will tell you that I have had people in my programs from all walks of life, literally. I have fishermen, I have assistant district attorneys, I have waiters and waitresses, I have police officers. I've literally had just about every profession you could think of be in my alternative sentencing program. And every one of them has been appreciative of the opportunity to give back to the community and to not have to sit in an 8x8, either for a weekend or for a week. We're not the only ones that do this. We are the only private organization in the state that does it. Lots of the counties run their own alternative sentencing programs, which I applaud that the counties do that themselves. For the most part, they run first offender programs. A couple of the counties will run second offender programs. But when the county jails run them, they're fairly expensive. They staff them with their own staff, which usually means that they have to pay them overtime. Most of the food comes from the jail, which, if you're looking for a deterrent, there you go. So there's a lot of this happening throughout the state, and you don't necessarily hear about it that much. I would like to see more of it happen. What has happened a little bit is that the alternative sentencing program, which we used to call the OUI program, has kind of morphed because we've opened it up to not just OUI offenders, but folks with any nonviolent misdemeanor. And this has worked pretty well. We've had some pretty interesting folks come. We had a guy for practicing dentistry without a license, a couple guys for night hunting, tax evasion. But on the same tack, they're nonviolent, they're not criminals. Sure, they did something that wasn't smart, but do they need to be sitting in a cell 23 hours a day? No. So that's what we do. That's how we fit into this little restorative justice niche that we have. And I would be happy to take any questions. Okay, well, lucky for you, you're on break. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Well, sure. She asked if there was anything that could be implemented for folks that can't pay the fee. There could be. I know that for some people it is a barrier for them to be able to attend, and much like cash bail, which I'm not a fan of, the fee, is preclusive. I think that from our end, as an agency that does the program, there is a way to look into sometimes, we have a little money left over, and to sort of have a fund or a pool of money. And we could do maybe scholarships, for lack of a better word. And it would have to really be based on income and situation and all that sort of thing. But it's not out of the question, as far as our agency is concerned, to think about doing that. Yes? As far as I know, there is not a similar program for, the question was, is there a similar program for children? I do not believe so. I spent the first part of my career as a corrections officer at what's now the Long Creek Youth Development Center. And I know that there are kids there that sit for an inordinate amount of time waiting to go to trial, waiting to be adjudicated, and then once they get there and they're sentenced there, they can spend a long time there with no real way to figure out how they're supposed to get out. So I think that it could be done. I think that it would be challenging for the folks that were running it. But if somebody was willing to do something like that, I think that there are ways that it could be operated. Certainly. Yes? The cost? So, I'm sorry. Thanks. So the question is, what's the cost for my program, and then do I know the cost for county programs? I don't really know what the cost for the individual counties are. I'm pretty sure they're all different. My program is probably a little bit more expensive than the county programs. First offender pays $300 and a second offender pays $500. I think that one of the big differences with the county programs is that I think on a pretty frequent basis, the county programs actually end up losing money and going into deficit with their programs simply because they don't charge quite as much, and like I say, all of their staff is usually overtime, plus they have food cost. So even though my program's a little bit more expensive, I don't typically run into overtime, and my food budget is pretty minimal. And then one of the great things for us is that the facilities where we run the programs, be it a high school or a camp or whatever, we get to use the facility for nothing. So it's basically a trade for work situation. So we don't have to rent the camp or pay the school to be in there. Yeah. Just goes to jail. I have not done that, or our agency has not done that. Part of oh, sorry. The question is has there been any studies to see the efficientness of our programs versus somebody going to jail? So essentially, does it have an effect on recidivism? So as a private nonprofit agency, we have a really hard time mining data sometimes because we don't have access to some of the Department of Corrections software and statistics, some of the court statistics. And so if somebody, say, has their first offense OUI in Saginaw County, and then 2 or 3 years later, they get a second offense in Aroostook County, I'm not going to know that. And I really don't have a way to find that out. So I've never personally done a study, and I haven't actually seen one. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy your day.